Hello everybody, we are here with your Thor guide. Thor, not a jungler that gets played as much as he used to, but just because he doesn't get played as much doesn't mean he isn't still viable. So on Thor, we're picking up our Assassin's Blessing, our tier 1 mace, our health potion, Hand of the Gods, of course. And against this comp, for the most part, you're probably going to get beads on Thor first. You can get blink in very aggressive situations, particularly when the enemy team doesn't have that much crowd control. But for the most part, I do recommend getting that beads as your first relic. Thor, not a jungler that has to have blink, which is pretty nice because a lot of other junglers do have to have blink. Our passive is pretty straightforward on Thor, so we're going to get to that first. Thor gains physical power for each enemy god within 30 units. You gain 10 physical power per enemy god in the range, so up to a maximum of 30 power. Basically what this means is this is really good for early game fighting because this is not a scaling passive, and later in the game that 30 power is less relevant. Once you're full build, you know, and everything, not nearly as important. But in the early game, if you like go gang duo or something, bonus 20 power is a big deal. So it's more of an early game passive than a late game passive. For our first ability, we grab our Spin to Win on Thor. This is our third ability, Berserker's Barrage. This ability has been changed in recent years compared to classic Thor Spin. The way that it works now is you walk up, you do a quick triple attack. So you walk up, you go 1, 2, boom. So you get a little double attack at the start with one big final finish. So this has 2 procs right here of the damage per tick, and then the final swing. So you get 3 total damage ticks from this ability, and there's only a 10-second cooldown. So once again, you walk up, you do 1, 2, and then boom, you do the big last one. So 2 spins, and then you get the big final blow. You can look around, you can do a bunch of things during this ability. You can't cast anything else, but you can like turn around and you can try to whip it back and forth, all sorts of cool stuff. There is no way to cancel out a spin. Back in the day, you used to be able to cancel out a spin when it was a much longer ability. Nowadays, it is much shorter, and as such, you cannot cancel out of it. The ability that we are going to max out first is our first ability, which is our hammer. You can see we grabbed a 3rd point in it at level 3. This is the bread and butter of Thor, and if you can hit this ability consistently, you're gonna love, love, love Thor. It's kind of like how Thanatos needs his 1. Well, Thor also needs his 1. This hammer is gonna go through, and it does damage on the way out and on the way back. So if I throw out my hammer, it does damage when it hits him, and then as he returns to me, it does damage on the way back. Now the special thing about this ability is that it actually does more damage to gods than minions. So when you throw out this hammer, it's gonna do the regular damage, and when it comes back to minions, it's only gonna do 80% on the return damage. But if you hit a god with it on the way out and the return, they take 200% damage from the return. Now keep in mind, this means you have to hit it twice. So you can't just hit them on the return and not hit them on the way out and get that 200% bonus damage. That has to be a double hit. So on the way out and on the way back. That is how this ability works. Otherwise, you will just get the first proc on the way back. At level 4, I grab my 2. This is the ability we're going to level up last. This is your Tectonic Rift, which is a stun. You are going to bring up a giant wall, a literal wall on the battlefield that is going to block off people, so you can't run through this wall. Anybody hit by the actual wall itself is going to be stunned for what, 1.1 to 1.6 seconds? And the fissure is gonna last for just about under 4 seconds right there. So that means you put up a wall kind of like the way Ymir puts up a wall, but it's a really big, long wall. And it also can stun people in that line as well. This is traditionally going to be the ability that you use to set up your hammer. So instead of just trying to hit your hammer raw with absolutely no help, what you're gonna do is you're often gonna use your 2, and then you're gonna follow up with your 1. They're gonna be stunned for basically just long enough for you to hit them with that double hammer tap. I hear Erlang dash over there. I'm looking at him. I saw Hades dash as well in the mid lane, so I'm actually just gonna land on Hades. I'm gonna come in, hit him with an ulti and a couple of auto attacks. Which means now we get to talk about Thor ultimate. Thor flies over into the air. When he's up in the air, he's got some time that he can sit up there. You are CC immune while you are channeling this ability, trying to get up into the air. Once you're up top, you got a couple of seconds to think about where you want to land. When you left click again, you're gonna come back down. If you don't left click again, eventually you will get timed out and land back exactly where you started, kind of like how Rama does. When you land on top of your target, you're gonna stun them for 1.5 seconds. You're gonna do a bunch of damage to them, and then you're gonna gain these enhanced auto attacks. The enhanced auto attacks are not a super crucial part of this ability, but for 6 seconds after you land, your basic attacks are gonna do a chain lightning arc. Basically, think about oboe pretty much. And when you attack an enemy, it'll hit up to 2 additional enemies, and those subsequent lightning hits deal 50% damage. So you get some bonus arc damage. It is pretty cool, and it made this change was made back in the day to make Thor better in team fights. It is relevant, but it's just not the most important part of this ability. So I'm definitely going to need a Brawler's Beat Stick into this team. We grab our Warrior Tabi. We are an ability-based assassin. And so we grabbed a Warrior Tabi and now the attack speed boots. Looking into this team, they've got a Hades for healing. They've got an Erlang on the heals. They've got so much potential healing. So I'm going to make sure I get my Brawler's Beat Stick online ASAP. If they didn't have so much healing, I could go with Jotuns here. I could even go with Crusher, or I could avoid finishing the item altogether, and I could grab myself a Transcendence, something along that. So I stun that Erlang, hit him with my full hammer combo. We should be able to kind of just walk over here and finish this kill. So Thor's hammer, particularly once you get a couple of points into it, from about level 7 to level 13, this ability is absolutely disgusting in the amount of damage that it can output. You can see right there that that hammer was about 50% of Hades' health. That is not an abnormal thing. That is a very regular hammer hit at this stage of the game. Thor hammer is a ridiculously good ability. Just doing some quick math, it does 210 on the way out, plus scaling, and then on the way back, it does an additional 200%. So not uncommon for this ability on a 12-second cooldown regular to hit for about 600 damage at the 7-minute marker. Sure, that's fine. Finishing up on our Brawler's Beat Stick and grabbing a couple of wards. So with Thor, our primary ability for farming in the jungle is our Berserker's Barrage. That's because, as we mentioned earlier on the 1, our 1 actually does less damage to creeps than it does to gods. And so we would prefer, if at all possible, to keep our hammer up for fighting enemy gods. You're going to rank up your hammer to max first, though, because it is your PvP ability. There's nothing wrong with using your hammer in the jungle. It is still going to do a bunch of damage to those jungle creeps. Even though you're not necessarily getting maximum damage out of it. So I like to do something a little bit strange on Thor. You kind of have 2 options on this. You kind of have 2 options. Oh my goodness. You have one option, which is to sit here and get absolutely railed on. Okay. I love the absolutely get railed on option, so I'm going to keep using that one for now. 6 HP is all I need. Oh my goodness. I totally missed out on something. So not only does Thor Hammer do a giant amount of damage, I forgot to mention, it's also your getaway skill. You can teleport to Thor Hammer. I can't believe I almost just forgot to mention this. I'm just so used to playing Thor, it didn't even come to my mind that that's also a mechanic. Not only does your Thor hammer do a disgusting amount of damage, you also teleport to your hammer. Now, you don't have to teleport to your hammer. So if you just click the ability once, you can just use it for the damage that it does, no problemo. But at any time while the hammer has left your hand, you can click the ability and teleport to it. This is important for two major reasons. One, it is in fact your movement ability. But two, it is also going to let you get in range of people with your hammer. So when I use my hammer for damage, I'm looking for the hammer. The second I get that double tap, the absolute second I get the double tap, I am looking to press that button again. So that way I can be right there next to the enemy in order to start hitting them with auto attacks with my 3, etc. I'm going to use my wall right here just to wall off Lang. So instead of using it for the stun, I literally just blocked off the entire jungle path, so he had absolutely nowhere to go. He can't get away. If he wants to dash away, he basically has to dash in towards me. Now back to what I was talking about before I totally forgot about teleporting to Thor's hammer. You have two options on Thor regarding your Berserker's Barrage. Sometimes I like to get a point in Berserker's Barrage, a second point at level 4, before I fully level up my hammer all the way. And that's because if you get 2 points in Berserker's Barrage, it'll actually clear the small minions on camps, and clearing those small minions can enhance your early game clear quite a bit. So if you're not super confident aiming your hammer, if you just want to go in a more farm heavy early game path, I don't mind you at level 4 putting a second point into the Berserker's Barrage before then putting the rest of your points into your hammer. Don't rank up the Berserker's Barrage first all the way to max. But if you do want to put in a second point just to help you out farming in the jungle, I have no issues with that. As we all know, farming is king. So if you're not feeling like you're going to land those big, fat, stupid 900 damage double hammers, totally feel free to get in that second point on your 3. Now, after that, though, your traditional level order is you're going, for the most part, to level up in the following order: 4, 1, 3, 2. But there is that second exception to our 3 that I wanted to talk about. Some players like to level up to 3 to max before they level up their ultimate. Now, I tend to stray away from this a little bit because one thing that your ulti does that is crucial is that your ultimate lowers the cooldown of your ulti. If you didn't get lowered ultimate cooldown from it, then I would always rank up the 3 before the ulti. But because you do, I do believe it is beneficial to rank it up first. So for me, my personal level order is 4, 1, 3, 2. But there is a strategy, there is something to be said about going 1, 3, 4, 2. Mix it up, try them both out, see what your playstyle feels like. They are both valid. I just personally am a bit of a PvP heavy guy, so I like to have the extra CDR for the games. Especially in a build like this, where I have to go the Brawler's Beat Stick instead of the Jones Wrath, so I don't have nearly as much CDR as I would like. Speaking of our build, as a third item, we grabbed ourselves a Transcendent. I wouldn't get Transcendence in the jungle any later than third item. So if you're going to commit to a Transcendence, make sure you do it early. Third item is fine. Fourth item is probably getting a little late. You should probably get yourself like a Heart Seeker instead at that point. But for me, still early enough in the game. We've got a nice lead. I'm going to get myself that third item Transcendence. I'll get 10% CDR once I get that Transcendence stacked up, helping me get a little bit of that cooldown that I am missing from the lack of Jotun's Wrath, because we had to get the Brawlers for the anti-heal. Gotta get the anti-heal when you gotta get it. You just don't got a choice. Hello, Hades. Little double love tap. Teleport in. Hit him with the auto. For Thor's standard combination, it's gonna be pretty straightforward. Step 1, we're gonna ultimate. We're gonna look for a target to land on. We're gonna land on them. Auto 1, auto 2, auto 3. So our combination, once again, we go into the air with our ulti. We land down. The second that we land down from our ulti, we auto. The second we auto, we click our 1 to get the auto attack cancel. Immediately following it up with another quick auto, and then our 2. That 2 is gonna chain together our stun from our ultimate and our 2 perfectly. Then we're once again gonna auto attack again, and then we're gonna finish up with the 3. Anybody that is not a tank should be dead from this combo pretty much all game long, even as you enter into the ultra late game, especially if you are building a lot of damage on Thor. Now you might say to yourself, Incon, that's a lot of auto attack canceling. With that much auto attack canceling, should I be getting a hi-rez on Thor? And what I say to you is good thinking, Tex. That's right, you should be getting a hi-rez lament on Thor. Now, depending on where you are at in the game, maybe you grabbed a hi-rez third. Maybe I grabbed a Jotun's Wrath first item, then my Warrior Tabi, and I wasn't quite winning as much, so I didn't get a Transcendence. I go right into a third item, hi-rez. I love that. Totally great idea. So for our 4th item, we're going to be picking up the hi-rez to add so much damage to our combo because of all of our auto attack cancels. And then we're going to be working on a 5th item, Erendite. Erendite, gonna give us a bunch of power, some cooldown, and it's gonna help us chase down some targets after our ultimate. So Thor obviously very good at catching up to people with his ulti. A little bit less good at chasing them down once his ulti is down. Erendite gonna give us that CDR that we so drastically need while helping us in the chase down. So if somebody tries to jump away from our ulti, well then we can follow up with a hammer, hopefully hitting them with the hammer, then teleporting to it. Now we've got the bonus movement speed on top of everything until they can't run away from our Berserker's Barrage. Help us keep in range of that Berserker's Barrage as we're using it.
Enemy ultimate down.
For gods that Thor likes to pair with, Thor is a great god to combine with some big money ultis. For big money ultis, what am I talking about? I'm talking about the Thoths and the Ras. I'm talking about the Scyllas of the world. Those characters that you can really, really follow up because Thor has so much setup. Thor has the ability to ulti down, you get stunned, plus he throws in his 2. Not uncommon for Thor to be able to stun a target for 2.5 or longer seconds. Meaning there's plenty of time for you as a mage to follow up with those big abilities. As far as the enemy team goes, I like Thor against gods with dashes. While Thor can play against gods with leaps, he does have the ability to go over walls and stuff. Gods that have either no escape skill or gods that only have a dash are really, really hard to play against Thor, and that's because of his wall ability. Basically, think of Thor as a Ymir. That wall that he throws down is gonna completely body block you off. Now I'm gonna run back here in the jungle where I don't think they have any wards, so they don't have any vision to know where I am. That way I can ulti right back in on top of this Heim and grab this kill. Woo, that was actually a great Heim boy. He might actually get out of that one. I gotta be a little bit careful here. Hades is ulting, so I'm gonna throw down my hammer on top of him. We should probably get out of this. We're fighting in the Titan room. This is very close to being very bad for us, so we're just gonna play it safe and run right on out. When you're ulting with Thor, you want to preferably be ulting from a location where you do not think that they have a ward. If you ulti on top of a ward, it doesn't matter that you're 20,000 feet in the air, they're still going to see you. So try to ulti from odd locations. So if you're trying to gank the duo lane early, this is obviously a location that they're going to have warded. Everybody wards here. Right on top of the Gold Fury is probably going to be warded. So try to find some spots like right over here where maybe you can reach into the lane as they're pushing in on you, and it's probably not going to be warded. Maximize your ganking potential by ulting from spots where you can still reach the enemy gods, but where they probably don't have vision on you to try to dodge your ulti once it's coming. You should also keep in mind that Thor ultimate does make a sound. It's pretty loud. So if you ulti too close to the enemy team, they will be able to hear your ultimate from the jungle and be able to prep for your ulti. As my 6th item on Thor, I'm going to be grabbing a Mantle of Discord. Thor, big, fat, backline diving assassin. You're ulting in on their mage. You're ulting in on their hunter. You're going very aggressive into the backline. This means that you are going to be in a precarious position. At the late stages of the game, that becomes much more problematic when teams can full commit turn on you. So I love to have at least one defensive item, preferably a Mantle of Discord, but against some teams with high CC, even doubling down and getting a Magi's Blessing and a Mantle of Discord, not a horrible idea. So I ulted in order to get near the range of Athena, and then I used my 2 in order to block off the wall, so he had no way to escape while that wall was up. Not gonna be able to get that kill on the AMA, and we're gonna back right on out. One thing you should be concerned about on Thor, back regarding compositions, cripples are problematic for Thor because your hammer is a movement ability. If you're like inside a RDO cripple, you're not gonna be able to use your hammer. On a similar note, any CC, while your hammer is out, can also be dangerous. So theoretically, they've got a Hades, right? If I throw out my hammer right in front of Hades and then he hits me with his fear, I won't be able to teleport to my hammer during that entire time that I'm feared. And so I can waste my movement ability and then be caught out of position. So be careful when you're using your hammer aggressively, especially as you get into the later stages of the game, because if you get silenced, if you get knocked up, whatever, out of your hammer, you can be put in a very bad spot. One more thing we should mention about Berserker's Barrage, that is your spin to win ability. You are knock-up immune during that. So Erlang, while he could taunt me out of my spin to win, could not use his turtle form in order to get me out of that. It would not knock me up. I am knock-up immune during that ability. No other forms of CC immune, just a nice knockback. I can still be mezzed, all of that good stuff. Wrapping up that build, we would have grabbed ourselves, of course, our Mantle of Discord that we were going into, and then we would have sold our Warrior Tabite and gotten into our strange kind of late game type of items. A couple of games that we have on board this game, Heartseeker is a good item. Obviously, for ability-based assassins, going to give you that % damage. That is wonderful. Against that enemy team, they are pretty tanky. AMA, Athena, Erlang, Hades, all types of gods that can build very tanky. So that could have potentially been a good item. If I'm feeling myself a Blood Forge, same kind of concept that the Mantle of Discord, I ulti into the backline, I grab a quick kill, Mantle of Discord, Blood Forge shield help me get out. And as we talked about earlier, a Magi's Blessing. They have a lot of CC on this team, the Hades Sphere, Erlang, Athena taunt, all sorts of crazy stuff. So a Magi's Blessing into this late game could have also been a good idea for something a little bit more defensive, guys. And that is our Thor jungle.